when we compare, right, when we compare with other production costs, for example, labor during the sowing ataupun harvesting, alright, ataupun mungkin yang melibatkan manual pollinations, right? And then post-harvest handling, right? Tapi, and then the fertilizers, the irrigations, okay, the consultancy, right? Cost of the seed ni sebenarnya lagi rendah lah compared to other production cost. Tapi yet no single factor is an important in determining the success of the operation. Most crop plant seeds are produced by companies that specialize in both plant breeding and seed productions. And normally companies that are working in seed production, they also know the part of plant breedings. Okay, they're just not doing multiplication ataupun seed production. They also know the plant breedings. Okay, they have experts on the plant breedings. Okay, then they have experts on the agronomies. They have expert on the seed handlings. Okay, the agronomies too, they check on the soils, they check on the general health of the plants, general health of the crops, fertilization, irrigation, right? And they know that they may have the seed technologies for the seed handlings. Okay, to produce high quality seeds, companies must not only pay close attention to the environments where seeds are produced, but must also have the means to test the quality of those seeds. Okay, the company who are doing business in this field, seed production, they normally know, they normally have experts to do test of the seeds. So to make sure in terms of the genetic purities, okay, the seed purity, right, to meet the highest standards as they claims. You know, the companies always have their own gold standards to convince people to buy the products. So of course they must have the SOP or guidelines to make sure that they are not overclaims, right? They sell what they claims, right? To clarify that, dia kena ada orang lah ataupun ada facilities atau capacity to do test quality of those seeds. Commercial seeds production, specialized intensive industry with its own technology geared to the requirements of individual species. Agriculture, vegetable and flower seeds. Okay, historically, seeds for next season crops were collected as a byproduct of production. Still use these methods, especially in the third world countries, while modern seed production has become a very specialized industry. So zaman-zaman dulu lah, right, for the next growing cycles, they were collected as a byproduct of production. Contoh pokok padi itu tak adalah byproduct, tapi they have to allocate some of the padi itu supaya tak they didn't go for the processing after they harvest. They didn't go for the processing. They allocate some of that from the grains to be used for the next cycles punya season ataupun growing. Okay, pokok sorghum, right? So these methods especially used in some third world countries, macam negara-negara Afrika lah. Most of the countries are still under third world countries, negara yang sedang membangun ataupun miskin, right? While modern seed production has become a very specialized industry. So modern ni adalah syarikat macam syarikat seed productions and then breeding company lah. Okay, so they have their own specific lands, they have their own experts, right? They have their own what do we call it? Organizations, right? They have their own specific crops. What they are, the specific crops for the seed that they are producing. Okay, contoh jagung, contoh sorghum, right? So memang specialized. Dia ada from the sowing sampai adalah seed handling. It means post harvest punya handling. Okay, that is modern lah. Tapi kalau third world country ni biasanya orang kampung, dia tanam, ambil sikit, simpan sikit, and then next cycle more for the survivability lah. Right? Not for business. Procedures for producing and handling a commercial seed lot. Okay, the activity of the genetic selections. Okay, the objective is to develop superior varieties. Right? Genetic selection ni, human through the history, right, during the developments of the agriculture systems, right, they always do without, whether they're realizing or not, they do crossings. Sometimes it happens natural, sometimes they did it manually, right? Kalau natural tu memang dia orang tak perasan, and then dia akan keluar mungkin keluarkan satu variety yang baru, and then mungkin dia dah belajar, dia orang started doing cross pollinations within the same species, right? So semua ni sebenarnya adalah untuk to produce better varieties. Okay, so that for example they found a wild varieties which is good, can be domesticated, to be planted, and then when they grow up, right, when they grow the crops, and then mungkin dia tengok hasil tak cukup, right, tapi dia sustain more on the kadang kekurangan air, dan then the previous ataupun normal domesticated variety of padi, dia tak tahan panas tapi yield dia besar, so mungkin dia orang kacuk sama sendiri, right? They do the cross pollination, alright. Waktu tu mungkin tak keluar terms genetic selection, tapi dia punya objektif adalah satu, to develop superior varieties. Probably 1,000 years ago, it's more on this, the methods to survive. Mungkin population increase, so they need more food, so they start doing, the knowledge develops slowly, but progressive, I think. So dia keluar, mungkin dia keluarkan banyak variety baru lah. And then seed production, high yield of seeds with superior germination potential. Seed collection, maximize yield at optimum stage of developments for quality seeds. So different plants have different development stages, right? It depends on the plants, right? Normally the breeding company, they know very well of the plants, of the crops, ataupun crops yang produce the seeds, the desired seed, right? They know what stage that is critical to be taken care of, right? What stage, the optimum stage and developments of the plants, right? Yang agak critical, that eventually could be influencing, right, the final product, means the seeds lah, right? Even for the harvesting itself, the expert must know when to harvest. The seed memang dah keluar dan nampak macam matured, tapi dia orang kena tahu bila nak to harvest. For example, pokok almond, right? Pokok almond, salah satu tanda dia dah matang to be harvested, mungkin dia dah tunjuk tanda-tanda cracking pun, contoh tanda-tanda cracking. right? So padi mungkin bila pokok-pokok tu dah nampak kuning, alright, semua dah kuning, okay, time tu kita dah boleh harvest, right? So the knowledge, alright, the knowledge to handle the plants at the critical stage, the most crucial stage, whether it's vegetative, whether it's flowering, right, whether it's during maturing stage, right, it's very important because it can determine the final products or yield, right, during harvesting. And then seed conditioning, seed treatments, packaging and storage is a post-harvest punya stage lah, right? Seed conditioning is separate seed from fruits, remove non-seed materials and with seeds. Seed treatments, enhance seed germination or facilitate sowing. Enhance seed germination, seed treatments ni macam you letak hormones ke, you letak fungicide to prevent any disease, right? Atau facilitate sowings, facilitate sowing ni mungkin hormon juga, ataupun you letak beneficial microbes that can increase the germination rate of the seeds, right? Ataupun you do some kind of like temperature treatments, right? Temperature treatments ke, to increase the the rate of the germination rates of the seeds. And then packaging and storage, retain seed quality until sale to or used by crop producer. Okay. Some agricultural seeds such as corn, wheat, small grains and grasses are produced in the area where the crops are grown to reduce transportation and handling costs, as well as to reduce potential for genetic shift, right? Corn, wheat and small grains and grass, they are produced in the area where the crops are grown. It means that they use the same lands to grow to grow up, to multiply the plants, right? To have the more seeds, right? And the same lands they harvest, and in the same lands, I mean the same area lah, right? They have facilities for post-harvest punya handling, right? The growth, they harvest, they do post-harvest punya handlings in the same area, right? This to reduce transportation and handling costs, as well as to reduce potential for genetic shift. Sometimes genetic shift ni it can be within plants, and it also can be genetic shift ni mungkin for example, corn ada 2-3 varieties, okay? So bila dia tanam kat situ, dia terus ada kat situ, dia terus separate kat situ, dia do seed treatment kat situ, dia do packaging kat situ, so terus kat situ, right? Kalau dia bawa ke keluar, mungkin that few varieties tadi mungkin dia akan bercampur, accidentally mixed, right? So dia akan ada potential of genetic shift. And also they will not biasanya dia takkan tanam corn and wheat tu sebelah-sebelah. Corn and wheat ni dia takkan cross pollinate lah, because there's different species. Tapi kalau nak kata corn variety A, variety B, variety C tu, even though in walaupun saya cakap tadi dia ada dia tanam apa Allah Akbar, apa nak cakap ni, normally corn ni yang saya bagi contoh 3 variety tadi itu adalah potential for genetic shift, means that bila dia tanam kat situ variety A, variety B, variety C, dia buat kat situ terus, right? That's for the argument for to reduce potential for genetic shift. Tapi in the normal practice dia takkan tanam dekat-dekat lah, right? Dia kalau satu variety tu dia akan tanam variety tu saja. Dia tak akan campur variety A, B, C dalam kawasan yang agak dekat to prevent any of cross pollination. Important consideration for agronomic crops where large amount of seeds are required to produce a crops. Okay, area may not provide the best condition for producing high area may not provide the best condition for producing high quality disease free seeds. So the area may not provide the best condition for producing high quality, tapi dia ada factors lain yang also need to be taken into the consideration, right? Kalau kita nak which is area tu mungkin tak okay, tapi improvement can still be done, right? Untuk optimize the plants growth and developments and also the seed production. Right. So factor to be considered for selection areas, right? We need to consider environmental condition. Right? Large quantities of grass, vegetables, and flower seeds are produced in areas that characterized by low summer rainfall, low humidities, and limited rainfall during the seed harvest season. Okay, so in Malaysia, we do not have much a significant industry of the seed production, right? We don't have big companies running the seeds production business. Many of the companies like macam Monsanto, Bayer, dia ni datang mostly based on the US. US, if you go and Google dia punya tanah pertanian, agricultural lands dia, dah macam satu daerah for one owner, lebih kurang lah, right? 3 kampung, 4 kampung lah macam tu. So bila they do business, means they bila dia buat they grow plants for the seed production, memang significantly lah dia orang boleh dapat, right? It's not cost effective kalau kita ada area yang kecil tapi kita nak buat seed production, right? So kat US memang kebanyakan tanah dia yang besar-besar, even for the fresh food, right? Fresh vegetables, dia punya tanah memang sangat luas, right? And then also for the seed production business pun memang luas, right? So that's why many of the knowledge, if you look at the internet ataupun the books, mostly coming from these countries lah, macam Australia, macam US, alright, macam Iran, something like that. Okay, so that's why in the infos in the lecture here, you akan nampak low summer rainfall, low humidity. So kita memang tak ada knowledge sangat. Sebab if we want that knowledge, kita kena try dulu kat Malaysia lah, right? Kita takkan create that knowledge kalau kita tak buat, right? Tapi kat Malaysia ni dia punya business of seed businesses, seed producing business ni, dia tak, orang kata almost tak ada lah, alright. Kalau ada pun yang keluarkan sayur, itu pun tak selalu signifikan. Macam GWG tu dia keluar paket-paket kecil tu, dia buat seed product, seed breeding and then seed production, tapi it's not as big. Orang kata tak signifikan lah. Kalau setakat small market kat Malaysia ni okay lah, tapi not enough to create a new knowledge, to create knowledge, right? Tak cukup untuk kita generate ilmu, untuk kita compilekan dia dalam satu complete knowledge, right? So sebab dalam ni tengok summer rainfall, low humidity, limited rainfall. Sebab dia orang macam kat US ni, dia orang tanah yang luas, itu memang core business dia orang, agriculture, right? Some of the southern part of the US lah, northern part of the US not very much affected by the cold climates, tapi down to the US, the southern part of the US mostly kawasan di kawasan panas dan very okay untuk tanam corn, wheat, barley, oat, right? Fresh vegetables, right? So bila diorang tanam secara besar-besaran, right? Of course they do research, right? When they do research, new knowledge will come out, right? So and then slowly dia punya knowledge tu akan develops and then dibukukan like this. Okay, so jangan terfikirlah kenapa kita belajar kat Malaysia ni, kenapa kita pakai ilmu di luar, kenapa tak knowledge from Malaysia. The answer is we don't have that knowledge. Alright, we don't have that knowledge, we don't have that the seed production or the seed production industry in Malaysia affected by flooding. Kita tak tahu pun, kita tak ada pun ilmu tu, right? So tak ada ilmu tu memang kita tak boleh terang lah, tak boleh explain. Okay, so go back to the lecture. Large quantities of grass tadi kan, characterized by low summer rainfall. Okay, so to select an area for growing a crops for seed production, we have to know the climates of that area. The irrigation must is the most important. The irrigation, right? Whether macam kan kalau kat Malaysia ni ada satu company tu dia pernah discuss dengan saya lah. Dia nak buka tempat tapi dia tanam cili. They are not producing seeds tapi dia tanam cili segar melalui fertigasi. Dalam dua orang nak tanam dekat 100,000 pokok. Right, 100,000 pokok. Satu hari pokok cili per poly bag, satu pokok cili it needs 2 liters air. 2 liter air satu pokok, you times 100. Berapa dekat 200,000 liter macam tu kan. Right. So apa yang company ni buat adalah they looking for the area yang ada sumber air semula jadi. So they just extract the water from the tali air for example ataupun from the sungai, and then baru dia letak baja secara fertigasi and then they supply to pokok. They don't have to pay for the bil air lah. If not, satu hari diorang kena dalam 200,000 liter, right, roughly speaking 200,000. Macam mana dia nak bayar? No, it will not be a cost effective for them lah. Mungkin hasil profit dia jual lada tu tak boleh menampung hasil input iaitu water yang dia kena bayar kepada syarikat penyedia air, right? So this one of the factors need to be considered lah before you are taking any step to open your own business kat situ lah. Business mean agriculture business lah. Okay. So kalau macam kat US ni, they looking for the summer fall, okay, looking for low humidity. Low humidity ni, kalau higher humidity ni dia akan promote disease lah, okay, and limited rainfall. Okay, kebanyakannya kat US ni kebanyakan kalau ladang dah sangat luas, right, kebanyakannya dia tanam pokok yang tahan kurang air, alright, ataupun pokok dia memang dah tahu the climate pattern of that area, okay, bila hujan akan turun, alright. So bila hujan tak turun, so dia orang akan make sure waktu low rainfall punya season tu dia tak affect too much on the growth and development of the crops, because of kalau the crops are affected by the climate, at the end of the day dia akan kacau the seed developments. Kita dah learn last week, macam mana the parents punya well-being akan mempengaruhi the seed developments, right? Which is kalau you are working, if the company is the core business of the company is seed production, so having less seeds, having less yield, and seeds maknanya less money lah. Okay. Produce good seed yield and to reduce disease problems. Also got special environments condition to flower and set seeds. Example, to promote vernalization. So if you are growing a plants that need vernalization punya periods, you need to select an area that have the climate yang akan facilitate that to happen lah. Alright. And then the production cost, you need to consider the labor cost, right? The pollination, okay, macam pokok kelapa sawit, dia kena pollinate, right? Sama ada natural insects, right? Sama ada naturally by insects ataupun humans. Okay, dia kena tabur-tabur. Tu salah satulah kalau contoh kelapa sawit. Kalau ada pokok yang memerlukan pollination, okay, it need to be considered as well as a cost production. Okay. Regardless the place you are producing the seeds from, you need to consider the soil types and fertility for good seed yield. You have friends, you've been taught, I think it's a very great details in the soil science class with Dr. Shwada, right? The importance of the soil chemistry and soil physics, right? How the characteristic of the soil will influence the fertility of the soil itself for the good plant growth and developments, and which in the end akan produce a good quality of seeds. A detailed cropping history to avoid disease or herbicide carryover, right? Adequate soil moisture or availability of supplemental irrigation. So this is very important, this water, right? It's not only the water become the source of the health of the plants. Is, if you still remember last time in the plant physiology, water is the source of the electron in the photosynthesis process. If the water is limited, so the electron will be less, so the photosynthesis will be affected, right? So because the photosynthesis too happens so the source of photosynthesis is water as a electron donor, right? Without the electron donor, there will be no photosynthesis, and then there will be no carbohydrate punya production, and then the seeds will be the seed development will be affected lah. Okay. A dry environment during seed harvest. So in the environment is to be good to in a good way of harvesting. It must be during the dry environments. But kalau last week, kalau you still remember, dia ada I think maturing stage, alright, ataupun drying stage. Untuk the seeds tu, dia akan ada berlaku drying stage sampai sampai the optimum, not optimum, I mean the naturally designed ataupun genetically designs of what moisture content should presence in the seeds. Okay, so waktu harvest ni eloknya adalah waktu dry environments. Okay, kurang kurang disease, right? Kurang disease, biasanya kurang disease lah during masa dry environment. So dry environment ni biasanya musim panas. Tapi walaupun musim panas, it needs dry environments for the seed harvest. It doesn't mean that we have to compromise the soil moisture. It means that we still have to take care of the soil moisture ataupun irrigation system, right? Giving water to the plants. Tapi mungkin tak sebanyak macam pokok tengah develop lah, sebab seed waktu tu dia tengah drying stage kan. So tapi the water still need to be taken care lah. Depends on the plant as well. Okay, kalau pokok padi ujung-ujung tu tak perlu dah masukkan air. So memang kita nak benarkan pokok tu mati pun, right? Ability to isolate open or cross-pollinated crops. For example, self-pollinated tomato plants require only 50 feet of separation between varieties. If you are growing plants that are self-pollinated, like chili or tomato, means that in one flower they have male and stigma, right? Means that kalau self-pollinated ni, the chance of cross-pollination between varieties dia akan sangat kecil, right? Macam pokok padi, dia akan pollinate dulu, self-pollinated dulu, baru dia akan buka kelopak dia, right? Bau kelopak dia. So chances of having cross-pollinated so agak rendah lah. For this kind of plants, dalam 50 feet separation, 50 kaki pun okay you nak tanam between varieties, because of the chance of cross-pollination is very low, right? Tapi kalau some insect or wind-pollinated crops require up to a mile of separation between varieties to avoid unwanted cross-pollination. Tapi kalau ada insects atau ada wind-pollinated, orang kata assisted pollination, right, by insect ataupun wind, dia kena jauh sikit lah, right, to prevent cross-pollination. Because at the end of the day, go back to the objective here, right, to develop superior varieties. We want to make sure the genetic purity of the seeds that we are producing adalah macam mana yang kita nak, kita want lah, kita nak, right? Kita tak nak ada gangguan dalam genetic purity. Plant density, pollinators, and pest control. So one of a few other factors that need to be taken into consideration. Okay, itu tadi dah settle. Ini untuk woody plant seeds. Okay, seed daripada pokok berkayu. Bukan pokok macam pokok berkayu ni macam pokok yang mungkin pokok yang besar sikit lah, right? Bukan pokok macam pokok padi, pokok oat, pokok jagung, right? So ni pokok woody plant jaga mungkin yang significance in terms of size. Woody plant seeds collect and sell seeds of certain timber, ornamentals, or fruit species, right? These are the examples of the woody plants. Such seeds should be properly labeled as to their origins or provenance. Some tree seeds can be obtained as certified seeds. Seeds exchange, many arboreta ni adalah mungkin pengumpul seed, right? Many arboreta and plant societies have seed exchanges or will provide small amounts of specialty seed. specialty seed. So dia bertukar-tukar seed lah. Alright. Seed collection can be anywhere of specific collection zones or area, parks, roadways, streets, belakang rumah, Brad Pitt pun boleh, Tom Cruise, Jokowi pun okey. Alright, tak ada masalah seed collection. Alright. From trees that fell, standing trees or squirrel catchers, tak ada masalah. Seed collecting has the advantage of being under the control of the propagator but requires intimate knowledge of each species and the proper methods of handling. So, where the seeds coming from, not I mean what we call daripada mana seed tu ambil tu tak ada masalah, alright. The original form of the seed tu diambil daripada mana tak ada masalah, as long as the seed collector dia tahu kat mana dia ambil, alright, dia tahu how to differentiate between species. Contoh dia pergi satu taman ada 3-4 pokok, ada banyak varieties of woody plants, okay, collect this, and then they collect the seeds, right, they collected the seeds, tapi at least dia tahu ni daripada pokok mana ni, pada pokok mana ni, pada pokok mana lah. Right. And a seed orchard or plantation are used to maintain seed source trees of particular valuable species, production of rootstock seeds of certain species of cultivars, and for forestry improvements. Advantage: source of seeds from a known often genetically superior parentage. So kalau kat sini kita tahulah sebab kita kutip and then kita letak dalam orchard. Okay, production of for the production of rootstock seeds ataupun species, certain species, okay, ataupun cultivars. So kita tahu sebenarnya sebab kita dah collect, dan kita tahu kita collect kat mana, kita tahu this species belong to what, this seed belong to what species, and then the other seeds belong to what species. So as long as they are recorded, we have the record. So kita tahulah yang mana I mean it's an advantage lah, kita tahu yang ni memang dia punya genetik macam mana, okay, dia punya the appearance ni macam mana, right, when it comes to orchard. Fruit processing industry, long time ago, fruit tree rootstock seeds were obtained as byproducts of food processing industries such as cannery, cider press. Okay. Okay, untuk food processing industry ni adalah one of the source of the seed jugalah. Contoh pokok mempelam, buah mempelam, right, buat jus. So seed tu dihasilkan. So seed tu boleh jadi source juga untuk seed collection lah. This is for the woody plants. So in the summary for this slide adalah seed boleh didapati from the seed exchange, right, amongst arboreta, right, from the Europe, they have their own, they've had their own collections. From the Asian, they've had their own collections. From the India, for example, for the southern, the Africans, the Latin America, they have their own collection. So it can be exchange between them. Okay, yang kedua boleh buat normal seed collection lah, as long as you know what species belong, what seeds belong to what species, blah blah. And the third is you can get it from the seed orchards. Okay, saya paraphrase back the seed orchard ni. Seed orchard ni adalah seed orchard, seed yang memang dalam kebun, alright. Kita tahu the advantage of the seed orchard ni, bila kita nak dapatkan seed from the seed orchard ni, kita tahu kebanyakannya orchard ni, orang kata kebun ni, dia pemilik dia ni dia dah tahu dah ni pokok apa, variety apa, pokok apa, variety apa. So kalau kita go for the seed orchard, kita nak seed kita nak minta seed from the owners, at least kita tahu dah seed ni daripada mana, adakah dia better. Sebab for the seed orchard ni biasanya kalau owner ni dia akan tanam pokok yang contoh pokok apple, mesti dia pilih apple yang the best to be in his orchard, right, untuk dia buat propagation ke apa kan. So bila kita masuk for that orchard, kita dah tahu dah pokok ni mesti among the best, sebab tu dia tanam kat sini. Sebab tu advantage source of seed from unknown, biasanya kita tahu genetically superior parentage. So seed orchard ni biasanya kita tahu dia ni adalah the best, sebab tu dia tanam kat orchard. Sebab tu the owner of the orchard dia tanam that variety ataupun species kat situ, right. Seed collecting ni, yang atas tu seed collecting tu kita tak tahu lagi, we just not randomly, I mean, you go mana-mana park and then you just ambil seed. It's not proven, dia tak proven lagi whether this seed ni genetik dia okey ke tak. You collect the seed from the park, so from the streets ke, from the rumah belakang rumah saya ke, your backyard ke, alright. Tapi apa yang you ada cuma knowledge to differentiate the species ataupun the variety. So the last one, the source of the seeds adalah food processing industry, means that contoh orang buat jus tadi kan, buat jus orange, not jus orange, jus mango lah, jus mango ataupun jus leci ke, okay, they deseeded, okay, dia buang seed dulu, right. Seed tu byproduct, tapi it can be the source of the seeds for the woody plants. So dia ada empat lah source of the ada empat source for woody plant seeds. And then now we go to the harvesting and the processing seeds, okay. Maturity and ripening. Each crops and plant species undergoes characteristics changes leading to seed ripenings that must be known to establish the best time to harvest. Right? Again, different species, different varieties may not be so much difference, right? Tapi between species they might have, right? You must know the nature of the plants, the crops, okay, where to give more water, where to give more fertilizers, what stage that is most critical, right? How long the life cycle of the plants, at what times the best to harvest the fruit on the seeds, okay? How long the jangka masa, the periods of the seed ripening before you can harvest. But these are all the things that you need to know before, before you are, what do we call that? Before you give commitment, 100% commitment lah. Biasanya bila orang tanam pokok yang jarang, biasanya pokok tanam for the first time ni, they start from the small scales, right? From the small scales, because for example, you have chosen your own area, tapi you do not know what the area, the lands will actually do for the real times growing, right? And then to make it more complicated, you tak pernah tanam satu pokok ni, and then you want to try to tanam that, right? And for the first phase of the the growing, so right, orang kata dalam sesi belajar atau mengambil pengalaman lah, right, to get the important or necessarily infos, right, so that after that less mistake you akan buat in the future. A seed is ready to harvest when it can be removed from the plants without impairing germination and subsequent seed vigor. Okay, what we call the harvest maturity, the time during seed development when the seed can be harvested for germination without a significant reduction in seed quality. Right? So um, the best time for harvest adalah when you harvest, right? When you harvest and then you try to germinate the seeds that you harvested, right? The germination rate should be high, right? Kalau you harvest and then you try to germinate, dia tak keluar, tak germinate, right? Means that kemungkinan the seeds were not it was not the time for the harvest yet, right? Ataupun dia dah terlebih waktu, alright, untuk I mean um, dia dah melangkaui the optimum maturity, the optimum time for harvest maturity lah, right? Sama ada terlalu lambat ataupun terlalu awal. The best times adalah during this, bila you harvest and then you germinate, the germination rate is high, right? That's the best harvest maturity times. So benda alam ni pun sama, biasanya orang try and error. Bila dia tanam and then dia akan harvest, dia akan okay, bila dah keluar, okay, kita rasa ini dia boleh harvest, then dia akan try and then dia akan test harvest and then they try to germinate. If the germination rate is not okay, mostly people will target 90% germination rate. Kalau you ambil 100 seeds, right, it must more than 90 seeds kena germinate. That is 90% of germination seed. Kalau less than 90% germination seed, means that your seed is not reliable lah. It's not, doesn't have a good quality lah. Means that biasanya kalau saya beli seed pun, dia akan look at package and look at the label. Okay, label, tengok kalau dia kata 90%, more than 90% germination rate, so means that the germination rate tu sangat, the seed sangat okay lah, right? And kena tahu juga after storage, germination rate tu sebenarnya dia akan berkurang. Alright, kalau you lama sangat, contoh seed, kalau you biar lama sangat, alright, mungkin bertahun-tahun, ada seed yang okay, yang sangat bertahun-tahun dia still germinate. Ada juga seed from the plants yang after few years it cannot germinate anymore. Maknanya walaupun dia ada 90% of germination rate, after few long years, right? The germination capability of the seeds might be reduced. Okay, dia mungkin akan slow down. So waktu tu seed tu memang dah tak boleh pakai dah lah. Okay. Harvesting and handling procedure. Plants can be divided into 3 types of for seed extraction according to their fruit types. Dry fruits that do not know how to pronounce these things. The highest at maturity. That is, have seeds and fruit covers that adhere to each other at maturity. Low humidity is important during harvest to prevent low vigor. The force required to dislodge seeds may result in mechanical damage, can reduce viability, and result in abnormal seeding. Okay, corn and grains. Katakanlah grains, katakanlah padi ke oat ke barley ke, low humidity is important during harvest. Kalau you perasan, waktu orang Sabah sambut pesta keamatan, which is 31 Mei. Okay. Orang kata pesta menuai, right? Kalau you perasan diorang akan tanam lepas musim hujan, bulan 1, right, ataupun awal bulan 2. And then biasanya cuaca kat Malaysia ni bulan 3, bulan 4, bulan 5 tu memang panas. Memang panas. Orang sebab orang farmers dia takkan harvest pokok waktu musim hujan. Right? Memang pokok tu takkan menjadilah. Pokok tu takkan membesar sangat. Right? What farmers normally do kat Malaysia ni, dia akan germinate plants, start orang kata start sowing padi tu awal bulan 1 macam tu. Alright, and then slowly akan panas, then harvest. And then waktu bulan 5 tu, not secara kebetulan, tapi memang musim panas. Musim panas adalah low humidity lah. Alright, low humidity. Kat Malaysia ni tak adalah low humidity sangat. Kita ni memang musim panas dan lembap sepanjang tahun. It's always more than 90%. Alright, tapi for the sake of argument lah, nak kata biasanya musim panas memang kelembapan dia kurang sikit berbanding musim hujan. Right. So low humidity is important during harvest. So bila nak harvest tu low humidity, so infection rate, infections and disease akan kurang. Right. And then this is to to prevent low vigor. Right. The force required to dislodge seed may result in mechanical damage. Tu kalau tengah pernah tengok orang menampi padi lah macam tu. Menampi tu kan. Mungkin mukul pokok padi tu nak what do you call it, to separate from the husk tu. Mungkin dia mengambil bukan akan menyebabkan mechanical damage. It might not be significant, tapi just nak bagi tahu just nak bagi tahu, alright, to fit the knowledge, the sentence here. Okay, nak mengatakan okay, itu mungkin berlaku ada mechanical damage, can reduce viability and result in abnormal seedlings. It might not happening dalam padi, tapi pokok lain mungkin sorghum, mungkin corn, mungkin berlaku lah. Kejap, saya nak minum air sekejap. Hilang suara. Saya ambil dalam masa 5 minit. Kita dah 5 minit boleh? 5 minit dekat. Saya nak minum air sekejap. So petang ni ada lab tau, jangan lupa. 2.5 kat Plan Sains 1. Siapa yang tak pernah pergi ke Plan Sains 1 tu tingkat kat fizik, bangunan fizik. Bangunan fizik kan? Kenal?
Tahu.
Maknanya kalau korang semalam ada buat lab tak mana-mana subjek?
Tak ada.
So petang ni adalah lab pertama korang kat UIA ni lah kan?
Ya.
Okay. Nanti saya cakap Dr. Razik, dia ada berbangga sikit. Bangunan fizik tu, lepas tu tingkat, saya rasa tingkat 4 macam tu lah. Ada lab atas, rasanya atas sekali kat bangunan fizik, physical building. Dia bukan kat bio building, okay, kat physical building dekat dengan CTS. Kalau bio building dekat management office course, dia the other side of the building lah. So okay, saya go back to the lecture. Okay, ada harvesting and handling procedure ni tadi ada 2 jenis dry fruits. Okay, dry fruits yang tak dehisce, saya tak tahu seriously, dehisce at maturity, ataupun the fruit that dehisce at maturity. Satu tak, maknanya kelopak dia tak terbuka, nombor 1 tak terbuka, and then 2 dia terbuka. Alright, yang tak terbuka tu macam corn and grains tadi. So initial humidity is important during harvest. Contoh macam pokok padi ke pokok oat ke apa kan. Alright, and then the force required to dislodge seed may result in mechanical damage. So you membanting tulang, membantai pokok padi ataupun oat ke apa benda tu kan. Itu kalau itu manual, kita tengok farmers kat Malaysia ni, okay, itu mungkin tak signifikan sangat kita nampak damage dia. Tapi for the large area kat US ke apa yang like I said tadi, kalau you Google, you tengok dia punya luas agriculture punya area land, dia pakai tractor saja. So bila dia harvest oat ataupun barley masuk dalam tractor, so during the process of dislodge, separation between the husk from the crude plants dengan seeds mungkin akan menyebabkan mechanical damage, right? The fruit yang kedua tadi, yang kedua ada fruit that dehisce at maturity. So ada pokok bila mature tu dia keluar, dia tanda dia mature tu dia nampak dia pecah, right? Includes follicle spots capsule, macam pokok kacang, something like that. Kekacang bukan underground, pokok kacang yang macam big dekat atas. Alright, capsule silic and contains many annual or biennial flowers. Alright, vegetable. Alright, fruit must be harvested before they are fully matured and then dried or cured before extraction. Tapi risiko dia adalah immature. So kita kena harvest sebelum dia terbuka. Alright. Pada pokok ni, pokok yang macam ni kita kena harvest sebelum dia terbuka. So kita boleh, so kalau pokok tu terbuka mungkin dia dah over matured lah. Mungkin pokok tu dah seed mungkin ada affected the viability of the seeds. Mungkin waktu dia terbuka, right, dia terdedah kepada temperature persekitaran. So menyebabkan seed tu sepatutnya the moisture content, like sebab macam I repeat, last week kita belajar every species ada seed, ada nature designs orchestrated by the genetics punya nature of the seed. Dia akan tentukan berapa percent of moisture contents in the seed tu, right, yang menunjukkan dia tu mature. So bila pots ni terbuka dan exposed to the surrounding, directly exposed to surroundings temperature, mungkin dia akan menyebabkan dia lagi kering, and then mungkin dia akan ganggu germination, seed viability lah. pokok kacang dia dah terbuka, you nampak kalau dia pokok biji dia sangat lagi kering, for example. Right, so what needs to be done for these types of the plants, you need to harvest them before the kelopak tu terbuka, right? Tapi dia ada risk dia adalah mungkin you harvest during the immature, right? Still seed tu dia tak mungkin seed tu dah dry matter allocation mungkin dah full, right? Cuma dalam proses of drying, okay, itu pun ada problem juga, dia akan ganggu juga, so kita panggil immature juga. Ataupun mungkin ada satu part lagi, mungkin ada part yang still dry matter accumulation. Remember last week ada satu division and cell division and differentiation, and then then dry matter accumulations, and the third adalah seed drying. Alright, so biasanya dalam seed drying ataupun allocation of the dry matter yang menyebabkan dia tak immature. So like I said many times, you need to understand your plants, the life cycles, the critical stage, which at what time they start flowering. If they're normally flowering after 3 months and suddenly they're flowering after 2 months, it must be happens with the climate change. How are you going to cope with that that changes? Okay, these are the things that, because you are dealing with the life things, okay, living plants, right? Kalau doktor, kalau dengan pesakit dia at least pesakit boleh jawab lah dia sakit apa, tapi plants you cannot. Cuma so you have to try and error, do experiments, right, to know the best times to to harvest, right, and other things lah like fertilization or irrigation, something like that. So how about tree and shrub? Okay, ada some procedure: drying, extraction, and seed conditioning. Actually, I think after the next semester, I'm not, ataupun this semester you are taking seed technology. I think next semester. So you're going to be learning a bit more details on the seed handling and seed production, and then now anything related to seed technologies will be covered. Right? Not anything, but most of this important topics ataupun subjects ataupun inputs ataupun knowledge will be covered in the seed technology. So in this plant propagation, I just cover it in general lah. Okay. And then plant with fleshy fruits, berries, apple, plums. This group of fruit is the easiest to handle if ripe or overripe. Type of seed extraction, ada dua: maceration, fermentation. Macerated fruits can be placed in large barrels or vats and allowed to ferment for up to 4 days at blah 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 with occasional sailing. Chemical treatments, alternative to fermentation, less time, but the risk is it can reduce the seed quality. Example: acid treatments and digestive enzymes. So if you do acid treatments or digestive enzymes, digestive enzyme probably acid and digestive enzyme probably ya, contoh maceration mungkin berries tu ataupun plum, you just maceration saja. Macam berry tu ada seed kat dalam, macam katakanlah anggur, okay, you hanya perah saja, and then you akan dapat seed dia. Alright, fermentation ni you biar dia sampai buruk. Alright, dan dia sampai kacau-kacau sikit. Okay. And then chemical treatment ni mungkin you letak acid ataupun digestive enzyme, so dia punya flesh part tu dia akan slowly degraded ataupun dihatislah oleh acid, tinggal seed saja. Alright, tapi mungkin seed punya treatment tadi ataupun digestive enzyme tadi, mungkin if not properly handled, dia akan affect the seed sekali lah, kena seed acid tadi mungkin akan kena pada seed tadi. Flotation involve placing seeds and pulp in the water so that heavy sound seed sinks to the bottoms and the pulp, empty seeds and other extracts. Extraneous material to the top. So ni flotation, main ikut density saja. Yang kurang density ni atas, yang dense tu bawah, aduk kat bawah, right? So these are the things, the steps that are normally taken for the plants with fleshy fruits. Okay, ada 3 jenis tadi. Ada seeds yang apa ni, tidak, waktu mature tu dia tak keluar kelopak. Okay, dry, ada 2, bila dia dah mature tu dia akan terbuka kelopak dia. And then 3 adalah how to handle the plants with fleshy fruits. And then after all that things, you have to do seed testing. Alright, commercially produced seeds that includes name and cultivar, origin, germination percentage of pure seeds, other crop seeds, weeds, and individual. So these are the example. This is the example from the overseas ataupun US punya, right? Sebab they are very particular because the core business adalah breedings and seed production. So they have to take care of their reputations. So they have to do they have to do it in the precise manner, right? So that the reputation will not be tercela lah. Okay, so biasa kalau kita tengok kat Malaysia ni, kita tengok yang penting germination percentage lah. Even you go kita cari seed pun kat sini kan, dia akan keluar nama name and cultivar, origins. Okay, origin tak. Kalau kat Malaysia punya packaging ni jangan pula nampak. And germination percentage ada, right? Percentage of pure seeds and the crop seeds. Okay, yang ni pun saya tahu. Ada yang tak ada. Seed testing provide information in order to meet legal standards, determine seed quality, and establish, okay, when you claim some things, it must carry, when you claim some things, all right, as a business owner, you have to understand the gravity of your claims, okay. It could expose you to the legal action by the customers. So before it comes to the customers, you need to perform seed testing by your own first, right? Before you selling them to the customers. And this design will be tested and have been established for a prolonged period. Like I said in the middle of the lecture tadi, after seed handlings, okay, mungkin germination periods dia, germination rate dia mungkin more than 90%, but as the time goes on, right, it normally the seed viability akan berkurang lah, right? So dia mungkin akan bertambah, mungkin still akan bercambah, alright? Sebab ada je seed yang terbenam dah tertimbus dalam kawasan salji kot dalam berapa ribu tahun, alright, and then bila dia germinate balik, pokok tu tumbuh, right, tapi tu pokok pokok pine lah saja, right, tu pokok yang tak ada commercial value sangat lah, I mean for the seed, in terms of the seed. Tapi nak katakan adalah mungkin dia akan germinate, tapi whether the plant will grow and develop dalam keadaan yang okey tu kita tak pastilah. So the best way adalah retest, kalau tak okey then just remove, right? So cara untuk sampling pun ada juga, right? Sampling for seed testing to obtain a uniform samples that represent entire lot after consideration. So for example, you ada one lot, katakan one lot ni satu gudang lah kan. You ada banyak batches lah, right? So you kena ada standards of samplings the seeds. Make sure it is presentable to all the lots. Okay. Viability determination. Germination percentage is determined by the percent of normal seedling produced by pure seed, the kind under consideration. So you ada pure seeds, you ada new produced seeds. So you have to compare between them lah. Alright. Satu pure seed, satu lagi yang you dah produce. Okay. Purity determination, a determination assessed by a seed lot by a seed analyst who is certified for purity test. That involve meticulous evaluation of a seed. Okay, yang ni a bit more complicated punya analysis. You ada satu yang first tadi you kena ambil for any procedures you must have your own good standards of doing samplings to represent. Means that sample you ambil tu representable, right? Ambil secara random untuk semua tempat area. Mungkin ambil kanan, ambil satu kiri, ambil satu bawah, ambil atas. Bukan semua atas sahaja, right? Bawah pun kena ambil asid tu, for example lah. Dia ada chemical test, protein electrophoresis, DNA fingerprinting, swab test for GMO. Chemical test detect specific compounds. Okay. Chemical katakanlah ada katakanlah ini form biasanya takut ada cross pollination, right? Katakanlah pokok yang you hasilkan ni sepatutnya ada compound A. So bila you test using the chemical test, right, you must produce that A type of compounds. The compound must be present. Kalau tak ada, mungkin dah tak pure lah you punya seeds. Right? And then protein electrophoresis detects specific isoenzyme. So a very known enzymes in your plants can be checked through protein electrophoresis. Nama lain kita boleh panggil western blot, right? Blot ke barat, western barat blot. Western blot to see the proteins, to specific isoenzyme yang ada dalam your punya seeds, right? Then to verify that your seed is pure. DNA fingerprinting macam cap jari lah. Ni nak explain lebih pun you mesti dah faham macam cap jari dia punya konsep. Swab test for GMO, got antibody for GMO trait. GMO ni genetic modified organism. You may introduce a new genes into a present set of genomes, right? Contoh you ada pokok padi, right? You punya pokok padi tu katakanlah you nak ada color orange. Alright, you nak ada color orange. So what you do adalah you mungkin ambil genes dalam pokok orange, pokok orange, then you introduce. Normally dia tak adalah berlaku, tapi for the sake of explanations to make you understand, right? Biasanya tak berlaku, tapi for the sake of nilai explanation, you ambil satu gene daripada pokok orange yang memberi color orange, masukkan dalam pokok padi, right? That's a GMO, alright? So genes ni dia akan hasilkan protein. You learn in molecular biology, even you learn in plant physiology last time dengan Dr. Latif. The genes dia tak working, tapi genes dia control dalam sel adalah by producing a specific proteins. Protein tu yang control dalam badan kita. Apa-apa metabolic activities controlled by the protein lah. Alright, the protein ni encoded by a specific genes. Right? So bila you masukkan gene baru, means that a new environment will have the new pokok padi you yang baru tu, new GMO baru tu, dia akan ada protein yang menghasilkan warna orange. So apa yang kita buat adalah kita check for the antibody. Antibody ni adalah yang boleh detect that specific proteins. So kalau pokok tu katakanlah pokok tu you kata okay, this is not a GMO, tapi kita boleh test lah. Kita ambil kita buat test, kita letak antibody, adakah dia detect protein yang sepatutnya alien kepada pokok yang asal tapi tiba-tiba ada. So itu menunjukkan it's a GMO lah. Patutnya protein tu tak ada dalam pokok tu tapi tiba-tiba ada. Right? It's like an alien lah dalam pokok tu. So ini salah satu test yang boleh dibuat. Vigor testing, ability to germinate when the environmental conditions are not ideal for germination. Seed lots with high vigor show a high germination percentage from seed emissions. Aging test is a measure of seed deterioration. Coat test, electrolyte leakage, seedlings growth. Okay, vigor testing ni, aging test ni aging test ni tadi kita nak tengok lah dia punya seed deterioration. Means that kalau seed tu dah lama sangat dalam storage, like I said, dia akan kurangkan germination rate. So this is one of it lah, kita nak tengok aging test dia. Alright. Maknanya bila you do a seed handling, sebelum you kata okay, seed ni mungkin you boleh simpan selama 3 tahun. Macam mana you boleh keluarkan the words 3 tahun tu? Of course you have done a series of time point. Kita panggil aging test. Okay, you store dalam masa 6 bulan, germination rate dia berapa? You store after 1 year, germination rate dia berapa? Okay, you store after 2 years, germination rate dia berapa? Tengok after 3 years, germination rate dia jatuh mendadak. So you akan recommend that the storage hanya okay for 3 years only. More than that, tak recommended. Okay, this is the aging test. And the cold test adalah electrolyte leakage. Dia macam ni. Cold test ni apa ni? Seed tu you bagi cold test, right? So bila cold test tu dia akan menyebabkan membrane tu dia no, sorry. Cold test ni bukan cold test maknanya you memberi temperature test, bukan. Cold test ni adalah you ambil seeds tu, you letak dalam air, okay. Letak dalam air, cold test ni, seed tu letak dalam air, okay. And then you check using the EC meter, electrolyte. Alright. You letak dalam air and then you ambil EC meter, alright. EC meter ni electroconductivity meter. You nak tengok bacaan garam. Biasanya kalau orang buat fertigation, alright, fertigation tanam melon secara fertigasi ke apa, mesti dia ada panggil EC meter ataupun electroconductivity meter. So bila dia buat air baja, dia akan check air baja ni, kepekatan air baja ni berapa based on the garam yang ada dalam air tu. Right, so the same principle used for the cold test. Seed ni you masuk dalam air, right? Macam ni, seed tu kalau dia punya vigor tu dah makin berkurang, the membrane of the cells mesti dah damage, right? Mesti dah damage. Theoretically, bila membrane dah damage, dia ada possibility of the ion dalam seed to go out, right? So bila you letak dalam cold water, dalam air, right? So bila you check using the electroconductivity meter, kalau bacaan ion tu tinggi, EC meter tu tinggi, means that seed tu dah tak okay sebab the membrane cell tu dah rosak. Ion dalam Sebab apa ni, bacaan isi meter, bacaan ion tu menunjukkan membran sel tu dah rosak, kan? Sebab ion tu akan keluar through the membrane cell, right? So means that seed tu dah tak okay dah. And then seedling growth, seedling growth ni bila you tanam, okay, bila tanam dia berapa lama dia boleh hidup. Okay, bila germinate tu berapa lama dia boleh hidup. Okay, that is one of the bigger testing also. So ini contoh isi meter, right? So bila lagi banyak garam, so we know dalam sel ni, dalam sel, even dalam sel kita ada potasium, ada sodium, okay? So ada kalsium, okay? So kalau isi meter ni dia boleh detect ion dalam solution. So kalau you letak seeds and then detect the device detects higher ion, means that banyaklah tu ion yang daripada seed tu keluar ke membrane, so menunjukkan membrane tu rosak. So maknanya seed tu dah tak okay. And then seed health comprise the occurrence of disease, insect or nematode in the seed cells. Specific procedures to standardize the seed health. First, visual, right? You boleh tengok by visual je lah. Incubation of seed, moist germination paper or agar inspection for disease growth. Your seed and then you try to grow and then tak ada mycelium so apa, tak ada tanda kulat ke apa. Tu seed tu okay. Biochemical test, detect the presence of specific disease organism. Okay, di sini kita boleh guna using ELISA. ELISA ni, okay, detect the presence of organism, bukan kita detect the organism per se, tapi organism ni biasanya dia akan menghasilkan compound ke enzim lah, enzim ataupun any protein. Okay, protein ni like macam boleh dikatakan kita boleh anggap dia antigen, alright, ada antibody. Spesifik antibody ni kita ambil dan kita check. Kalau antibody ni kita ada bind pada antigen, means that antigen ni ada bind pada antigen, means that ada kewujudan organism. Alright, using the ELISA ni lah. Istilah macam kita punya COVID-19 punya ni lah, RTK tu. Right, provide antigen. Ataupun antibody COVID tu adalah antigen, so antibody kita kenal, so attack. So means that kalau the presence of kalau ada antibody, means that adalah dia punya antigen. Alright, means adalah dia punya microbe. Okay. Sebab tu kalau orang yang tak pernah vaksin dan tak pernah kena penyakit COVID, dia takkan ada antibody. Macam tu. So bila you test tak ada antibody. So bila you, maknanya bila you check badan dia tak ada antibody untuk COVID, means that COVID memang tak ada dalam badan dia. So kalau COVID ada dalam badan dia, dia akan ada antibody. So this is what we check lah. The principle yang kita gunakan. Seed treatment to improve germination, to enhance the potential for germination, seedlings emergence to blah blah blah. Okay. Seed protectants use the chemical heat inoculation with beneficial microbe, guna saphenous, okay. Chemical, okay, you guna hormone ke, you guna biochemical. If you go and go for to the looking at the literature, journal ke, beneficial microbe ni memang improve germination rates, can prevent disease, right? Because the beneficial microbe ni pun boleh actually antagonistic to some fungus, right? Ataupun other bacteria, right? Germination enhancement, seed sizing, priming, okay, soaking seed in the water, put in the darkness, okay, pre-germination. Inoculation with microbes, okay, go back to ini macam lebih kurang the first tadi lah. Right. Coating to help mechanical sowing. So kalau you go for the mechanical sowing, okay, mechanical sowing ni guna tractor, right? So kena ada coating lah untuk kurangkan damage dia. Kalau damage of this, kalau tak ada coating dan damage, dia takkan membantu dalam germination lah. Seed storage, seed are usually stored for varying length of time after harvest. Affect seed viability, a measure of whether the seed is alive and can germinate. Okay, ni kita dah discuss tadi. Seed longevity, orthodox seed. Seed that tolerate drying after seed developments can usually be stored for years in this dry state. The majority of crop plants have orthodox seeds. Or recalcitrant seeds, seeds that do not tolerate drying after seed developments, they offer special challenges in storage because they are short-lived. Contohnya biasanya fleshy fruit lah. Katakanlah pokok apa? Kalau orthodox seed ni macam pokok padi ke mungkin pokok padi, pokok jagung yang dia boleh simpan untuk banyak tahun, right? So kalau macam pokok durian ke, biji durian ke, biji mango ke, alright. So they not tolerate drying after seed development, means that dia tak boleh terlalu lama. So seed macam ni mungkin seed macam ni tak recommended for the long storage because they are short-lived. Right. Last slide, storage factors affecting seed germination. As seed deteriorate, they first will lose the vigor, and then the capacity, then lose the capacity for normal germination, and then finally the viability. The most important factors impacting extended seed longevity in the storage are seed moisture content and storage temperature. So moisture content and seed temperature. So optimum seed temperature is important to maintain the moisture contents in the seed. If the temperature is significantly affecting the moisture contents in the seeds, so seed tu akan deteriorate lah, start to deteriorate lah. Alright, so have to maintain the moisture contents of the seeds by handling a good setting up the optimum storage temperature. Okay. So settle lecture for today. Saya tak ingat lecture 1, 2, 3 tu saya dah upload dalam taklim tu.
Dah Doktor.
Dah.
Sampai week tu.
Dah.